you see what I see in this tiny mirror? If you said 2 people, you'd be right. But what if I told you one of those people is the artist himself, watching you watch the painting, and that's just the beginning? What you're about to discover will change how you look at art forever, because the world's most famous paintings aren't just pretty pictures. They're coded messages, hidden secrets, and visual puzzles the artists embedded for those smart enough to find them. I'm going to show you 7 paintings that aren't what they seem. And once you see these secrets, you'll never look at art the same way again. Let's start with this painting by Jan van Eyck from 1434. At first glance, it's just a wealthy merchant and his wife in their fancy house. But look closer. Is she pregnant? Well, that's what most people assume, but art historians now believe she's just holding up her heavy dress in the fashion of the time. The real secrets are hidden in the details. This little dog, it's not just a pet. Dogs symbolized loyalty and fidelity in marriage. But here's where it gets interesting. This candle, in broad daylight, represents the presence of God blessing the marriage. But why only one candle lit when there are multiple candles in the chandelier? Now back to that mirror. See those 2 figures reflected? One is clearly the couple we're looking at from behind. But the other figure, that's Jan van Eyck himself. He's literally painting himself into the scene as a witness to this moment. And if you look above the mirror, there's an inscription that reads, Jan van Eyck was here, 1434. Not Jan van Eyck painted this, but was here. He's not just the artist, he's a character in his own painting. Even these oranges aren't random. In Northern Europe, oranges were incredibly expensive and exotic. They symbolize wealth, but also fertility and the Garden of Eden. Every single object in this room tells a story. The artist turned a simple portrait into a complex narrative about marriage, faith, wealth, and his own presence as witness to it all. Now let's talk about probably the most analysed painting in history, Da Vinci's Last Supper. You know the story. Jesus announces that one of his disciples will betray him, but Da Vinci embedded secrets that most people completely miss. First, notice how the disciples are arranged in 4 groups of 3. This isn't random. It represents the Trinity, and the number 12, of course, represents the apostles. But here's what's brilliant. Look at Jesus' hands. His left hand is palm up, his right hand palm down. In Renaissance symbolism, this represents giving and receiving, the dual nature of Christ as both human and divine. Now find Judas. He's the only figure whose face is in shadow, and he's clutching a bag of money. But Da Vinci went further. See that spilled salt near Judas? Salt was precious, and spilling it was considered bad luck and wasteful. It's a subtle way of marking Judas as the traitor, without using a halo or obvious symbolism. But the real genius is in the perspective. Da Vinci designed the room so that all the perspective lines converged directly on Jesus' head, making him the literal and figurative center of the composition. Your eye can't help but be drawn to him. Some researchers even claim Da Vinci embedded musical notes in the positions of the bread and hands, creating a hidden melody. Whether that's true or not, it shows how deeply layered these masterpieces really are. But what if I told you that one painter could create depth so realistic that it puts modern photography to shame? This is Peter Bruegel's The Harvesters from 1565. And what he accomplished here is absolutely mind-blowing. Look at this tiny boat. Now watch this. Are you kidding me? The man painted depth so intensely it's almost impossible to comprehend. That boat isn't just a background detail, it's actually miles away. And your brain knows it. See this church painted in the background? It's not just background decoration, it's genuinely behind this hill. Bruegel calculated the exact size it should appear at that distance. Those people skinny dipping in that pond, they're actually doing it at precisely the distance your eyes would perceive them in real life. Every figure is scaled perfectly to create this illusion of infinite space. And look at this, Bruegel painted some curious game happening off in the distance under these trees. We can't quite make out what's going on, but we're genuinely curious. While it's delightful to spot the happy faces of this hungry harvest crew, chowing down on bread and porridge, plucking apples from trees, napping in the shade, Bruegel's real genius lies in something far more sophisticated. He's created a perfect recession of space that tricks your brain into believing you're looking through a window at a real landscape. The foreground is sharp and detailed, the middle ground soft and hazy, the background pale and distant, exactly how human vision works. This isn't just painting, it's optical engineering. Bruegel understood human perception better than most neuroscientists do today. He created a two-dimensional surface that convinces your brain it's seeing infinite three-dimensional space. Now, what if I told you that one of the world's most famous paintings might not even be of a real person? This is Vermeer's Girl with a pearl earring, and the mystery runs deeper than you think. Let's start with that famous pearl. In Vermeer's time, a pearl this size would have cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. But here's the thing, this pearl is impossible. It's perfectly round, impossibly large, and has that ethereal glow that no real pearl could achieve. X-ray analysis reveals Vermeer's secret. He painted this entire pearl with just 2 brush strokes, one dark base, one bright highlight. He wasn't painting a pearl at all, he was painting pure light itself. The way illumination behaves when it hits a perfect surface. But look at her eyes, do you see it? Her pupils are different sizes. This isn't a mistake. This is Vermeer playing with our minds. Either she's not entirely human, or she's caught in a moment of such intense emotion that her body is reacting involuntarily. And this turban, this wasn't Dutch fashion, it's completely exotic, possibly Turkish or Middle Eastern. Why would Vermeer dress a Dutch girl like this? Because she might not be Dutch at all, she might not even be real. Art historians now believe this isn't a portrait, it's what the Dutch called a tronie, a study of character and expression. Vermeer created the perfect face, the perfect expression, perfect moment of human connection. He painted the ideal of beauty and mystery. Notice there's no background, no context, no clues about who she is or where she exists. She could be anyone, anywhere, at any time. She's floating in darkness, existing only in that perfect moment when she turns to look at us. Vermeer didn't just paint a girl, he painted a feeling, a moment of recognition between viewer and subject that transcends time and space. No wonder she seems so alive. She was never meant to be one person, she was meant to be everyone. But what happens when an artist breaks the fundamental rules of reality itself? This is René Magritte's The Blank Signature from 1965, and it's about to mess with your brain in ways you didn't think were possible. At first glance, it looks simple. A woman riding a horse through a forest. But look closer. Something is very, very wrong here. Do you see it? The woman and horse are simultaneously in front of and behind the trees. Look at this section. The tree trunk is clearly in front of the rider. But then look here. The same rider is clearly in front of the same tree. This isn't a mistake. This isn't bad perspective. Magritte has painted something that cannot exist in our physical world. He's created a visual paradox that breaks the fundamental rule of space, that 2 objects cannot occupy the same place at the same time. Magritte called this the visible that is hidden. He's showing us that our assumptions about reality, that objects have fixed relationships in space, are just that, assumptions. In art, in dreams, in imagination, different rules can apply. The title, The Blank Signature, refers to this exact concept. A signature that gives the holder unlimited power to fill in whatever they want. This isn't just surrealism, it's a philosophical argument disguised as a painting. But if you think those secrets were impressive, wait until you see how one Dutch master used a single candle to tell the most dramatic story in human history. This is Christ Before the High Priest by Gerrit van Honthorst, and what's about to happen in this room will change the world forever. Picture this, Jesus has just been arrested. He's been dragged to the home of Caiaphas, the high priest of Israel. The question hanging in the air could mean life or death. Are you the Messiah, the Son of God? Jesus could lie. He could dodge the question. He could save his own life. Instead, he looks directly at his interrogator and says, I am. With those 2 words, he's just signed his own death warrant. Now here's where Honthorst reveals his genius. Look at these 2 men. The high priest, the one with all the power to decide life and death, he's leaning forward, unstable, almost falling out of his seat. But Jesus, the man who just condemned himself to crucifixion, he's perfectly calm. But everything hinges on this candle. Watch how Honthorst uses light like a weapon of storytelling. Caiaphas, closest to the flame, is painted with harsh lines between light and shadow, a man torn apart by internal conflict. Jesus, further from the candle, glows with soft, gentle transitions between light and dark. This is a man completely at peace with his fate. Are you seeing this? The candle isn't just lighting the scene, it's literally driving a wedge between them. Remove that candle and the conversation feels ordinary. But with it there, creating this barrier of light, we know these two men will never reach an understanding. And then Honthorst does something incredible. He dims the entire painting so that this single candle becomes the only real source of light. Like hope in darkness. Like divine presence in the moment when everything seems lost. Life and death balanced on the edge of candlelight. That's not just painting, that's pure genius. Our final painting tells one of the most powerful stories in American history, and it's about a 6-year-old girl who changed the world simply by walking to school. This is Norman Rockwell's The Problem We All Live With, and what you're about to learn will break your heart and inspire you at the same time. Meet Ruby Bridges. It's November 14th, 1960, and it's her very first day of school ever. She's 6 years old, wearing her best white dress, with her hair in perfect pigtails. She's carrying her school supplies, pencils, ruler, notebook. Looks like any other first day of school, right? But why is she being escorted by 4 US Marshals? And why can't we see the crowd that's surrounding her? Because Ruby Bridges was the first African-American child to integrate an all-white elementary school in the South. And outside the frame of this painting, there were thousands of people, adults screaming profanities at a 6-year-old child. See that tomato splattered on the wall? Those vile racist words scrawled behind her? Adults were so filled with hate that they threw food at a little girl walking to school. They wrote things so horrible that even today, they're difficult to look at. But look at Ruby. Despite all this hatred surrounding her, she walks with perfect dignity. Her back is straight, her head held high. She's not cowering, she's not crying. She's walking forward with quiet courage, the most powerful revelation. But here's what Rockwell couldn't show you in the painting, something Ruby revealed years later. Every morning as she walked through that screaming mob, and every afternoon as she walked back, she would silently pray the same prayer. God, please forgive these people, because they don't know what they're doing. A 6-year-old child facing the worst of human hatred was praying for the people who were trying to destroy her spirit. Rockwell painted this from a child's eye level, literally bringing us down to her perspective. We see the world as she saw it, surrounded by hatred, but moving forward anyway. The vertical lines of the Marshals create a protective barrier, but also show how isolated she was. Ruby spent that entire school year alone. She was the only student in her class because parents pulled their children out, but she went to school every single day. She stood alone so that future generations could walk together. That's not just a painting, that's a testament to the power of forgiveness and courage in the face of unimaginable hatred. So there you have it, 7 paintings that are so much more than they appear. Van Eyck turned himself into a character in his own painting. Da Vinci embedded mathematical perfection into the Last Supper. Bruegel created optical engineering that rivals modern technology. Vermeer painted light itself and human psychology. Magritte broke the laws of physics. Honthorst used candlelight to tell the story of salvation. And Rockwell showed us that a 6-year-old girl's prayer for forgiveness could change the world. The next time you're in a museum or looking at art online, remember, you're not just looking at pretty pictures. You're looking at stories of human courage, mathematical genius, optical illusions, philosophical questions, and moments that change history. From medieval mirrors to modern civil rights, art captures the full spectrum of human experience. What other paintings do you think hide powerful stories? Let me know in the comments. And if this video changed how you look at art, make sure to subscribe for more hidden stories from the art world.